Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Hesse Bros Pod. It's your boy Brent Hesse and join me, my brother Luke. And Luke, wow, I feel like it's 2 weeks over again, but just even darker this time. The Chiefs and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving does not go Kansas City's way. That followed the Lions getting beat on Thanksgiving again, this time to the Green Bay Packers. So, Luke, it was a tough Thanksgiving for us. We got plenty of food, plenty of fun, but those games were rough. And now the season is looking a little bleak for both of us.
I know, Brent. I just wanted to eat so much food, I go into a coma after having to watch that Lions versus Packers game. That was absolutely disgusting to watch. And then, of course, following it up, I feel like the Hesse Bros are on the brink right now, and both of our teams are in a situation where they have to win to stay in that playoff picture. Both of them are still right there in the hunt, obviously not completely out of it, but it's going to take a resurgence in December for both these teams. That, granted, we're the one seeds last year, so I feel like they have a good shot of making a late push here.
They're going to have to, or it's over. It's a lot different than last year at this time when both teams were just coasting to the playoffs. So, Luke, let's jump into these matchups, starting with that first game on Thanksgiving Lions Packers, an NFC North matchup. And the Packers just took it to them in Detroit. Luke, what are the Lions' current problems, the biggest things you see? And we talk about going forward. Are they fixable? Because the Lions are going to have to start winning a lot of games and really soon.
Absolutely. We have to start winning games. And like I've been saying all year, the biggest problems is that Goff gets under pressure and he's not playing well under pressure this year, like he was able to somewhat do last year. And we're not getting pressure on the other team's quarterback. It's as simple as that. Aiden Hutchinson is trying his best. He's getting double teamed, and we have no one else that can get any sort of pressure. Jordan Love was sitting back there all day long. And whenever we did dial up something, get him under duress, he just evades it so easily and finds a deep shot down the field. Like it's hard to watch right now because Goff cannot do that on the other side of the ball. You're like, dang, if he could make that guy miss, maybe extend the play a little bit longer. Now we get a deep ball. No, he's just getting hit and going down. That's the most frustrating thing for a Lions fan right now. And I don't know if it's honestly fixable this year. I think we have enough good pieces outside of those two main problems we have to be able to win games and maybe make a run. You know, there are good teams in the league, but every team is beatable right now. And that's all it takes is being able to get some of those plays to go your way towards the end of games. The Lions are in all these ones, but it is frustrating, and it does look like it's going to be tough to fix it this year.
I was trying to enjoy my first Thanksgiving meal. So, did not see that game. You were parked on the couch. I was doing a little more socializing, trying to make sure that I could say hi to everybody, eat all the food, check in on the game. But every time I watched, it was just Dontavian Wicks down the field and Goff on third down, throwing the ball into the dirt. So I don't know if it's a Thanksgiving thing. The Lions, even in their successes the last couple of years, have not been great on Thanksgiving. And that's been an issue, obviously, going back before Campbell, but Campbell's gotten them to win the other games. Now 0-2 against the Packers this season, and it is not looking good for Detroit, Luke.
Definitely not. I mean, we could have definitely won that game. It was really just what it came down to were those fourth down conversions. The Packers went 3 for 3, and the Lions were 0 for 2. And when that happens, you're going to lose by. We ended up losing by a field goal. I mean, that's what's going to happen. We were able to still have good plays on offense, but just not enough in those fourth down scenarios. For example, Jameson Williams, the ball's right behind him, came coming in like a rocket, and he wasn't able to come down with it. We get that catch. I mean, we easily could have won that game. So it's just little things like that. And St. Brown going down obviously doesn't help with him, Laporta, and Raymond likely out for a little bit. We're going to need other guys to step up, which definitely can happen. We got a lot of weapons.
Yeah, and I've got some more questions when it comes to talking about the Lions going forward. Obviously, they've got a big one on Thursday against the Cowboys. So when we get talking about that, I'll have some more for you. But rough Thanksgiving for Detroit. And it didn't get any better, Luke, as we turned our attention to, like I predicted, the most watched game in NFL regular season history. A lot of eyeballs on the Chiefs' bad performance.
Absolutely, Brent. There was a lot of eyeballs in our family room watching that game all together. You were rooting on your Chiefs hard, and it was definitely a spectacle to see. Everyone I felt like was trying to be on your side and root for the Chiefs to get the W. But at the end of the game, the defense just couldn't give Mahomes a chance to go down and try to tie or win the game. Brent, why can't that defense get off the field? I feel like that's been something that's slowing them down all year.
Yeah, it's been awful. There's been 3 games where Mahomes has scored in the fourth quarter and then not gotten a chance to get the ball back to try to win it. That just can't happen. The pass rush cannot get there with 4. Karlaftis is not having a great year. Chris Jones is obviously getting a little bit older. He's having some impact, but there's too many times where he has no impact. They have no really opposite defensive end along with Karlaftis. It's a kind of a mixture of some veterans, Mike Dana, you've got Charles Omenihu, and then the rookie Ashton Gelati, and none of them have been able to step up and be a pass rushing force. So then the Chiefs are either sending blitzes on third downs, and teams are getting used to those Spagnuolo blitz packages, figuring out where there's going to be one-on-one coverage and attacking, or there's so much time and the secondary is not holding up. McDuffie had his worst game, I think, as a pro against the Cowboys. Jalen Watson struggled. He had a pick on Dak early in the game, and then it was completely different the rest of the way. So it's a combination of the secondary struggling, all those pass interference calls. Some of them definitely seem to be a little questionable, but the calls were made, and you've got to do better. You've got to make do with what is in front of you. And there was plenty of times on third and longs where the Chiefs could have gotten off the field. Also, when you look at the offense could not get points in the second or third quarter, built up a nice lead. Then next thing you know, they were down 2 scores. A lot of that has to do with those fourth downs you mentioned. 3 times the Chiefs moved beyond the 50-yard line and then decide to punt. And some of those fourth downs, knowing that your defense isn't what it's been in years past, and especially in the last 3 games now against the Broncos, the Bills, and now against the Cowboys, well, and the Colts game as well. They did win that one. But in those games, some of them they've been able to slow down the offenses, but in all of them they've had problems on third down, minus the Colts game in the fourth and quarter and overtime. So trust your offense to go pick up a fourth down conversion. It's a problem right now for Kansas City. And just like the Lions, it's not that much. The Chiefs overall look pretty good, but they end up still getting L's on the scorecard almost every single week right now. And it is a sad, sad state of affairs.
It's got to be sad for you, Brent. Coming off of a dynasty, to see the dynasty come crashing down here 6-6. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and to
But
have to and like you said, all of our families there. This is usually my time to curse out somebody, throw some stuff, and instead just have to be respectable and just watch it in agony and pain as it's all just going right down the drain.
yeah, well, that was definitely tough to witness, Brent. I'm glad you're able to somewhat hold it together. But at the end of the day, Brent, you got to look at it. The Chiefs, I feel like, is a little bit of the opposite of what happened last year, right? I mean, so many close games last year where they barely make the play, get the win, get the call, possibly. And this year, it's just flipped on its head. All the close games, the Chiefs, it seems like, end up somehow losing. They did get that overtime win against Indy a couple weeks ago. But for the most part, it seems like it's just maybe a little bit of regression back to the mean as far as those close games. And who knows when it might flip back around again and the Chiefs start getting those dubs late.
Well, it's either going to have to start flipping around their very next close game or next season, because after that, it won't matter. 1-6 in one score games, that only win coming in the Indianapolis overtime game 2 weeks ago at Arrowhead, and really bad on the road. Losses all across the field against road teams. Their only win is the Giants on the road. They've lost to the Jaguars. They've lost that Chargers game was in Brazil, obviously. Lost. The Jaguars loss was awful because if they win that game, they're 7-5, tied with Jacksonville and the Texans for that 7 spot with the tiebreaker against Jacksonville, and obviously playing the Texans at home this week. Instead, now they're 2 games out of the wild card race right now, as the 8 seed is 8-4. Chiefs are 6-6. And then you got the road losses in Denver, road loss in Buffalo, and now a road loss in Dallas. So you're absolutely right. the breaks just aren't going Kansas City's way, which is odd for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And those two have to take some of the blame as well because of that. But the defense is certainly the biggest problem right now. And we will see where it goes from here.
Absolutely, Brent. So we got to move on from that Thanksgiving. I hope all y'all are
Yes.
grateful for a lot of stuff, but
Yes.
not football this year. We need to turn it around next year.
Yeah. So before we get to next year, though, Luke, let's talk about the rest of this slate in week 13. The game of the week was Sunday night, Broncos versus Commanders. And it's a tale as old as time for Denver. They somehow find a way to pull the iron out of the fire at the end. This time it was different. A lot of times this Denver has trailing and then they end up coming back and winning. This time they had a little bit of a lead the whole game, just a tepid 3-7 point lead, it felt like. Then Washington ties it up at the end. They tie it up again in overtime, go for the victory, do not get a 2-point conversion, and the Broncos now sit in second place in the AFC, one of only two teams with just two losses in the entire NFL. But is it concerning to you, Luke, that Denver is letting these bad teams hang around? Another case in point with Marcus Mariota.
I definitely think it is concerning. Come playoff time, I feel like the Broncos just might not have the juice to be able to get the big dub whenever it comes to the playoffs. I have thought that they're going to be able to win the division all year, and I still think that's going to hold true, obviously. But come the playoffs time, the defense is going to be very helpful, obviously. They have a great defense, and Bonito wins the game for them right there. I mean, that was insane. Shout out to the Commanders for them being able to, send that one to overtime. That was just a great game to watch altogether. But as far as the Broncos go, I just don't know if you can really trust them with their quarterback play. It's definitely not top of the league. And you look at some of those other quarterbacks in the AFC, and you wonder, if Josh Allen goes on the road to Denver, I mean, is it really going to be a matchup that you want Denver to be think that Denver's going to be able to take them out? I don't think so, and I think they're kind of looking at maybe a home playoff loss first round of the playoffs with some of those good wild card teams that could sneak in for the AFC.
Yeah, it's on the board, no doubt about it. But the thing is, it is for every team in the AFC. There's no team I feel like you have full confidence in the way that they're all playing. The Ravens and the Bills, two teams that have traditionally been right there with Kansas City that are currently in the playoff field. They've got major questions this year, more so than in years past. And so do all the other teams around. Obviously, Kansas City's 2 games out. If they were to go on a run and get in, obviously they would be very, very dangerous. But they're a long ways from that right now. So it is wide open. And why couldn't the Broncos at this point continue to do what they're doing? And that is to keep winning these close games, because that's probably what it'll be when it comes to January.
I mean, it definitely is something that helps out a lot, being able to know how to win in those late situations, which they've been able to do well. But kind of like I said with the Chiefs, I mean, this Broncos team kind of does remind me of that Chiefs team from last year, where they kept getting wins late. It seemed like they were going to fall to somebody, yet they just keep stacking W's after W's, and I feel like it's going to come crashing down for them. They had a good season last year. You could tell they were building something good, but I think it might be a little bit too quick of a meteoric rise for them to be able to take it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, especially when the main difference between the two teams you're comparing is Bo Nix in his second year versus already a two-time Super Bowl champion in Patrick Mahomes, makes it
Yep.
even tougher for Denver. And we will talk about the playoff picture, Luke, as we get into our reactions and looking ahead to next week. So let's go ahead and get into reactions for week 13. I'm going to just start with something that was just a joy of football, because I had a rough Thanksgiving when it came to football, but just being able to sit back, watch some games with you the rest of the weekend, Luke, we saw some incredible catches, and these guys just are making the impossible look easy. I think there were 3 catch of the year candidates in the NFL this week with Bowers, Puka, and Treylon Burks. Brock Bowers, a low catch in the end zone, one-handed, scoops it off the turf. Puka somehow across his body is able to snatch one away from the Panthers, keeping them in that game. And then Treylon Burks in the corner of the end zone to keep Washington in the fight. They were all incredible catches, Luke. Which one was your favorite? And do you agree with me that it was those were all three possible catch of the year candidates?
I mean, those were three of the best catches you'll see at any point. So yeah, definitely. And my favorite one had to be that Traylon Burks in the end zone. Immediately, it gives you, chills down your spine thinking about that Odell Beckham Jr. catch on Monday Night Football, just like that one was. I mean, that was insane. And for him just to stick the palm up, catch it with two fingers right there in the corner of the end zone, I mean, it was electrifying. I don't know if it gets better than that.
Yeah, I love the Puka catch because I got to watch that one on the big screen, and it was just remarkable. I mean, he's so good, especially obviously Bauer's one of the best tight ends. Traylon Burke's a guy that is just happy to be in the league and still getting targets. But maybe there's a resurgence there, and Puka's obviously one of the top receivers. He has solidified himself this year, so Puka would take the cake for me. But those three all were so incredible, and that's why we love this game.
Absolutely. Gotta love football. Some great plays, some big hits this weekend, too. So at least I was able to cheer my spirits, like you said, Brent, coming off that Thanksgiving. But my biggest reaction, I mean, let's get into the nitty gritty here. This AFC North is just completely out of whack. I mean, the Bengals still have a pretty good shot of being able to make it in. The Steelers look like they're completely out of sorts. The Ravens obviously just lost to the Bengals and are going to play them again. The Bengals get that win, and I mean, they're right there if to win out and win the division. I think it's likely if they win out that they're going to win the division, which is just insane to even think about. And the crazy thing is, I think every single coach in this division might get fired at the end of the year. Even if, one of them is going to go to the playoffs. If they get knocked out in the first round, let's say, Mike Tomlin sneaks in at maybe 8-9, 9-8, they might move on from him if they get dog walked in the playoffs. John Harbaugh, I mean,
Same boat.
if Lamar doesn't turn it around, what are you sticking with him for? I mean, Stefanski, who knows what they're going to do with him? And then Zach Taylor, I mean, the defense is terrible. You got Burrow back. I mean, sure, you can blame it on another injury, but that's 3 years in a row not making the playoffs. I don't know if I've ever heard of an entire division losing their head coaches, but if there's ever been a good candidate for it, it's this year with the AFC North.
No, that's a great point. There's a path for all of them, especially if the winner of that division is the Steelers or Ravens and just gets in at 9-8 and they get beat bad in the first round of the playoffs. I feel like you have to make a change. I think it's very on the board for all four of them. And then going back to your original point of the Bengals putting their, putting their ticket back in the hat, trying to win it. They absolutely do. They're 4 wins. It's crazy, but they're about the same boat as Kansas City at 6 wins and Detroit at 7 wins. That winning out probably gets it done for you. Now, obviously, the Ravens and Steelers play each other this week, so one of them's going to get the 7 wins. But the Bengals do still have those games left in the division, and they win those. They're automatically gaining a game on at least one of the teams. So, boom, yeah, absolutely. Now, do I trust them to do it because that defense is still, I think, horrid? The Ravens, even in that game, Baltimore was able to move the ball a fair amount. It was obviously not a great game for them, but it was just a turnovers. When you turn the team over 5 times, especially in some of those instances right near the goal line, that you're going to win those games more often than not. So I don't have that much faith in the Bengals, Luke, to be able to do it. And I think Taylor probably needs to go along with at least 3 of the 4 coaches. We'll see if either the Steelers or the Ravens can get them going. And that doesn't mean Stefanski's not a good coach, but the Browns, their hand that they're dealt is just very, very bad outside of one player on defense. So yeah, that's a very good point. I'll be watching that now that you make the reference. I still think it's going to be the Steelers or the Ravens, but the Bengals absolutely do have a shot. They just got to keep winning, and I think the chips would fall their way if they were to keep winning and get to 9 wins or 8 wins. Were they at
4-8, yeah.
four
So
and
if
eight?
they went out, then they'd have the division tiebreaker too, because they'd be 5-1 in the division with only one loss to the Steelers. So they'd have the tiebreaker over the entire division. So even if they get to 9 wins with the Ravens or Steelers, they'll still be in. So win
Yeah.
out, they pretty much got it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, that is something to keep your eye on in the wacky AFC North, the coachless division. And somebody's probably going to get in with just 9 wins, which means that there's only 6 playoff spots left in the AFC, Luke. And 9 wins isn't going to cut it for any other playoff contender really throughout the rest of the NFL, except maybe in the NFC South, which is kind of in a similar boat with the Buccaneers and Panthers being the 2 teams in the lead. And the Bucks right now have the worst record in the NFC out of the playoff teams, but they're still in at that 4 spot. So it's going to be tough for teams to get wild cards. Wild cards are going to be hard to earn this year with the way that a lot of the best teams are in the same division in the NFC. Obviously, the NFC West at this point, I think you had it from the jump. 3 teams are going to make it. I'm hard pressed to think that anything other is going to be the case. So then you look, obviously, the NFC South has got a spot. That's 4 out of the 7 teams right there. You got 3 spots between the NFC North and the NFC East, and that's the Eagles and the Cowboys, Bears, Packers, Lions. That means probably 2 of them are going to be left out when it's all said and done. The Lions at 7-5, I think they're going to have to win out as well, just like Kansas City at 6-6, where the wild card spots are all occupied by 8-4 teams. So it's getting late early for us, Luke. I think the playoffs are starting here in week 14. Usually it takes 3 or 4 games to win the Super Bowl in the playoffs, but for Detroit and Kansas City, it's going to take 9. That is my reaction.
Well, Brent, I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself on the Lions. The Lions definitely, I think, could drop one more game and still go in at 11-6. The Bears have to play the Packers twice, and so unless those two split, that would be really bad for the Lions. As long as, and what I think is going to happen, the Packers beat the Bears twice. The Lions still get to play the Bears for beating them for the sweep of the Bears on Week 18, which very likely, if the Packers beat them both times, the Lions will be able to have that game to be able to take that final wild card spot from the Bears in that one, if we're able to get to that point with maybe only one loss. So I think it will still be all right. And plus, the Bears play the 49ers as well the week prior to that. So they got a tough road ahead. I mean, if the Bears really do that well and start winning all those games, then, the 49ers could drop out or the Packers. So I think there's a good chance we could be able to give up one, but definitely want to get the rest of them.
Yeah, the Bears, though, they got a win that you did not anticipate on Friday against Philadelphia. So that's another game the Lions are going to have to make up if it is the Bears now. Obviously, there's a scenario where the yeah, I mean, the NFC East is also trying to, get 2 teams in. If the Cowboys keep rising, obviously that's a big game on Thursday. I think it's a loser leave town type game for both teams. The Texans and the Chiefs are both on the outside looking in. So are the Cowboys and the Lions. And the way the wild card teams keep winning, it's almost 2 elimination games in my opinion.
Absolutely. The game on Thursday, we're going to get into it in a little bit. It's going to be a huge one. But my last reaction from week 13 is that the Panthers are here. You all need to know about it. You know how I like them black and blue cats, and they're legit. Like, I think they're going to be able to win the division. They're a better team than the Buccaneers. They're going to beat them coming up here in a little bit. And hey, Bryce Young, he's a good quarterback. He deserves a contract. I said it first, and hey, give it to him. Some of those dots he was throwing, 2 fourth down touchdowns from him, absolutely perfect balls. I mean, he knows what's going on. Pause.
The Panthers make the least amount of sense out of any team in the NFL to me, Luke. They have 3 wins. I'd be hard pressed to find another team that has 3 quality wins as Carolina's victories over the Packers, Rams, and Cowboys. But then they just have some mind spelling losses as well as just getting beat down badly against other teams. It's like a different team every week. It really is. Whenever you start to believe back in them, they absolutely soil it. And then whenever you're ready to write them off, here they come again. So I have not figured this team out. I disagree with you that they are going to win the division. They still have both games against the Buccaneers, correct? So it is pretty wild They have the opportunity in front of them. I don't see them being consistent enough to get it done, especially when Tampa Bay is starting to get a little bit healthier. They got Bucky Irving back. They're going to get Mike Evans back here soon. So good luck to you. You better just stop believing in them, then you might have a chance again.
Oh yeah, I'll be right back to not believing in a little bit. Don't worry. But it is a fun story. And Brent, what's your biggest surprise from the past week?
Well, outside of the Chiefs and the Lions, just absolutely not having the goods. Another surprise came Thursday when the Baltimore Ravens did not show up against the Bengals in a game they could have really solidified themselves as okay, they're already right back into the playoffs. And I almost feel like you could really stamp it in after the way Pittsburgh has been playing. Instead, Lamar cannot shake this slump. It's the worst stretch of games he's had going all the way through his NFL career. His running is not there. I think obviously he's been on the injury list since coming back with leg injuries. That's got to be a factor. Teams are playing him differently because of it, but I'm just so surprised that he cannot shake the slump.
I know, I'm surprised too. I mean, you expect him to be able to do it. I think a lot of it does come down to his leg injury. And also, I feel like his receivers are not helping him out very much either. Zay Flowers is not having the type of year you would expect from him. And Mark Andrews, I feel like he's old. He doesn't have the juice as much anymore either. So I think he needs better weapons, and that kind of shows through more whenever he's not able to use his legs like we're used to him being able to do.
Well, Luke, what else surprised you this week?
I just can't believe it, Brent. We talked about the Bears a little bit earlier. I don't understand how they were able to beat the Eagles, why they looked that good. And I saw this team week 2 get demolished by the Lions. I'm like, same old Bears. This is easy. Ben Johnson didn't do anything. And now they've got 3 more wins than the Lions, or 2 more wins. And it's like, how is that even possible? Ben Johnson really might be that guy, and I wish he was on the Lions right now, but he's not, and he's leading a Bears team that looks good. The way they were able to run the ball against Philly, I was not expecting that at all. Mostly, you can't run on the Eagles, very well, but he was able to do it, and they absolutely gashed them. So the Bears might actually be legit. I'm gonna have to see it against another good team because who knows what the Eagles are, honestly, at this point. But that was crazy to see.
The most real thing you said, Lions wish they had Ben Johnson. That has been a big difference. And it's kind of what I said in that I expected the Bears to start slow. You've got a coach trying to instill his system. Obviously, Ben Johnson is wants to do things his way. He is going to make sure to do things his way. That was evident in training camp and in preseason when he was showing visibly frustration about Caleb Williams and the offense and the team as a general. And I kind of was like, okay, this Bears team is going to be a lot different in September than later in the year. Now, I didn't think that they'd have such a good record to where they're in the playoffs already. I thought they'd be in the mix. And now with that tough schedule, probably come up a little bit short. But because they won some games, close games, games they maybe shouldn't have won in the middle of the season, whenever they were still trying to figure it out. Now you've got the coaching quarterback on the same page. Caleb Williams might be the weakest link of this team right now. He's still being really inaccurate. He shows flashes, but doesn't have the consistency. His completion percentage is much lower than you'd want a starting quarterback under 60% to be at. But that offensive line, it needed time to gel. They brought in so many different guys. They spent a lot of money on the O line. And now look at it. They just ran right through the Eagles. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just beat them up front, and they did. It didn't matter if it was Swift or Monangai. It clearly wasn't a running back thing. It didn't matter who it was. They were running for 6 to 10 yards a chunk every single time, just moving the ball down the field. And that Eagles offense, that speaks for itself. I do agree there. We'll see what the Bears defense can do against an offense that doesn't lead the NFL in 3-and-outs. But the offense, the offensive line, the coach, the quarterback, they're all at least on the same page now. And yeah, that's all it took to just outplay Philadelphia from the start of the game to the finish.
Absolutely. And you saw what it was, D Swift and Monunga, two backs there or whatever. Imagine if Ben Johnson had a running back like, I don't know, Jameer Gibbs or something. Imagine how good that offense could be. Wow. I mean, just crazy. Something to think about. Probably never happened.
Hey, well, you got Dan the Man Campbell, so you better get it together, Luke. And speaking of that, let's go ahead to Thursday night's game. We have the Cowboys and the Lions. And to me, Luke, it is a loser leave town game with the Lions 3-point favorites at home. Now, we haven't really talked about the Cowboys yet, even though they were a big factor of that Thursday heartbreak for me. But can Dallas keep this streak going? Their last two games, they beat Philadelphia after trailing by 21 points. Against Kansas City, they trailed by 10. Dak threw a bad pick early, and they win them both at home. Now they're going on the road. But this Cowboys team over the last 2 weeks, adding Quinn Williams, the defense looks better. Dak is playing with confidence. Can they keep this streak going? That is the question.
No. Never going to keep the streak going. The Lions have to win. And this is when it all just comes down to, hopefully at least, the coaching and being able to get the boys fired up because if the Lions are out St. Brown and we're obviously going to be out Laporta, how are we going to be able to keep up with this high-powered offense? You know, George Pickens, second most receiving yards in the league, and CeeDee Lamb was thought to be one of the best receivers in the league. So this is just such a dynamic duo that we're going to have to try to stop. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. This is one of those where you just hope the boys get fired up enough and control the clock. That's what we're going to have to be able to do. If we're able to run the ball like Jerry Jones does not want the other team to be able to do, he's shown that with his trade with Micah Parsons and getting Kenny Clark, and at the trade deadline getting Quinnen Williams. He wants to be able to stop the run. And if he's successful in doing that against the Lions, we're probably going to lose this game. That's what it's going to come down to. We have to be able to run the rock and control the clock, keep it away from Dak as much as possible, and hopefully come out of here with the win. It's going to be a dogfight, but we're going to need every ounce of juice this team has, and a gritty win is coming here.
Well, I like your belief, Luke. I don't know if it's really founded on solid ground or not, but the thought for me is that Dallas, I just don't trust them to be able to keep doing this. Like, it's one thing to have one good game in a row, even two, but beating the last two Super Bowl champions, the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, back to back, now going on the road against last year's NFC number one seed. This is such a brutal stretch of games. And then you look at the flip side, Detroit, even though they're 7-5, right? They haven't lost back-to-back games this season. They haven't lost back-to-back games in what, 2 or 3 seasons at this point. So it's the NFL, the way it works. 1 week, it's 1 week. The next week, it could look totally different. And that is kind of the thought process going into this Thursday night game.
I certainly hope that's the process. I hope the Cowboys look completely different than what they did on Thanksgiving. And same with the Lions. That'd be great. Let's get a W here for Detroit. I think it's going to happen just like what I said. It's got to be Gibbs all day. He's our best player. St. Brown's out. Feed him the rock.
What about in passing situations, though, especially if St. Brown is out? No Laporta. The offense is relying on Jamison Williams, who has splash plays, but obviously we saw in that crucial moment a drop where they could have moved the chains, maybe scored on the drive, and that would have completely turned the complexion of the game. Him now trying to be that number one receiver, and then you've got a rookie trying to fill the number two spot, no tight end that you rely on. There's going to be situations where the Lions are going to have to pass the ball. Do you have any confidence there?
Yeah, let's throw the ball to Jameer Gibbs. Get him the ball in the screen and just let him take off towards. I mean, such a great player. Why not? I mean, just give him the ball. Like, I don't care what it is. Get him out there running routes, over the middle. I don't care what it is. No, Tesla, I think, does need to step up. He's been, in the wings. He got a touchdown against the Packers, and we're going to be looking for him. He knows he has to step up here with St. Brown out. I mean, we didn't know St. Brown was obviously going to miss basically that entire game on Thanksgiving. So they should have a plan ready to go with those other wide receivers.
Now, Luke, let's talk about the Steelers Ravens. I will side with you. I'm taking the Lions in this one. The season's on the line. Maybe this whole stretch where Campbell said we may never get another opportunity like this is on the line. So Lions come through at home against Dallas. Now to Steelers Ravens. Ravens are 6-point favorites. Battle for first place in the AFC North. We've talked a lot about this division in our reactions. But looking ahead now, Luke, Do you have faith in either of these teams going forward after what you've seen over the last month or so?
At this point, the only team of these two I have faith in is the Ravens, just because of the way that I've seen this exact same offense basically be so dynamic, even in week one, whenever they put up all those points on the Bills, then Lamar goes down and they have not looked the same since. But you can still have the belief that they can get back to that. And if they do, they are clearly a juggernaut in this league. The Steelers, on the other hand, we have not seen it really at all. So inconsistent. The locker room is clearly not in a good space. Tomlin's fighting for his job. And so I just don't see any way where I have faith in that team. But the Ravens, you can see a way where it's going to turn around for them.
It's hard for me to have faith in either of these two teams, Luke. Now, the one thought is Lamar, you got a little bit of extra time this week. They played on Thursday. Now they don't play till Sunday, so you get an extra 3 or 4 days of rest. That's what Lamar needs. Clearly, he has to not be at 100% because I just don't understand what else it could be in a slump like this. The problem though is the Steelers have given Lamar fits even when he's playing at his MVP caliber level. It's a team that they've made him have some of his worst games throughout the course of his best regular seasons. Now going through one of his worst stretches in the regular seasons, playing Mike Tomlin, that pass rush that is formidable. It worries me. I think Derrick Henry has to be a big part of this game plan, and they've got to get Lamar in some design runs out on the edge. If he doesn't want to take those hits, that's okay, but make that be a threat for this Steelers defense. Get him out there, do some read options, let him run to the boundary. He has to be able to do that because we've seen when he tries to stay in the pocket like he's done over the last month, teams are able to play him differently and cause problems, leads to very short drives and turnovers. So right now, my faith is very low in both teams. Like you, I guess, because the Ravens have shown it before. There's that thought that they could regain it for the rest of the season. But right now, it looks like a completely different product. So no faith in the Steelers and no faith in the Ravens currently, with the caveat that maybe there could be something there. I just don't trust the coach either. So that is a problem. It's a very tough line for me at 6 points for the Ravens. I don't think I like either side. If I had to choose, I'd probably take the Ravens -6. I do think they'll win the game, but nothing would shock me in this one.
I'd definitely rather stay away from this. I'd probably take the Steelers +6 because I think it's going to be an AFC North dogfight. Both teams, I mean, this is leading the division right here. So everything's on the line, and I think it'll come down to the wire.
Okay, Luke, on to our next game, another AFC divisional one for first place.
Absolutely, Brent. We got Colts at the Jaguars, a place where where the Colts never win. It's been probably what 12 seasons since they were able to win at Jacksonville, and so at this point, the Jaguars are +1.5, and this game is for the lead in the division. Brent, can Daniel Jones find his lost ark?
Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones is going to need to find the lost ark here because the division slips away. Right now, the Colts are not in the lead of the division. They've fallen into the wild card spot and what looked like maybe they could make a push for the 1 seed. The schedule is not going to get any lighter for Indianapolis the rest of the way. The thing with Jacksonville is I still just don't buy them. They play the Titans this week. The Titans are about as free a win as you get in the NFL. And anybody else with a pulse, the Jaguars have at least let hang around. So the problem is Daniel Jones dealing with that injured leg. That hurts his mobility, same as Lamar. Obviously, he's not nearly the caliber of Lamar with his legs, but it is an element to his game. And without it, you saw what happened. Now, the Texans defense is very, very tough. So can't put that much of the blame on him for the ineptness of the offense last Sunday. You've got to be able to find a way to push the ball down the field. I like the receivers. I like the tight end. I like the running game. The Colts, to me, this is a must-have, and I think they're able to get it done. I do think he's able to find the arc at least for 1 week.
I think it definitely is. And this is a spot that is so crucial for the Colts, not only for this year, but I feel like for their identity. This, like I said, this is a team that they haven't been able to beat on the road, division rival in so long. And so, if you're able to get over the hump here, maybe people start to look at this team as, yeah, this is a new Colts team. This is a new era. Not what we've seen ever since Luck retired right before that season, where the Colts have just been basically in this limbo for however many years that's been, 6 or 7 years, something like that. So, at this point, the Colts need this win, and it would be definitely defining for the time to come.
Well, and imagine this scenario, Luke. They trade 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, and now Garner out for the season, tore his Achilles, and then they end up missing the playoffs. Now you don't even have those first-round picks. You still don't know if a collapse happens, if Daniel Jones is a guy you want to keep rolling with, if he ends up going from 8-2 to missing the playoffs. That would be a nightmare for this Indianapolis franchise with the guy you traded for injured, no first round picks, still not sure on the quarterback. It could get really, really rough for Indianapolis. It really is a franchise altering type game here in Jacksonville. I think they come through.
I think they do as well. Give me the Colts in that one and Danny Dimes, baby. And now moving over to the NFC North, the Bears are going to the Packers for the first matchup of the season for those two, and the first in 3 weeks they're going to play again. Brent, who do you trust more, Caleb or Jordan Love?
As weird as it seems, Luke, I trust Caleb Williams more in this game. I like what they're doing. I trust him because I trust his coach to put him in the right spot. And I think this is a moment where Caleb really shows himself. They've been winning in spite of him so far this season. And Jordan Love has played well this year. He's had fewer boneheaded mistakes than typically, but he still has not shown up in some of the big spots, most notably that Eagles game in prime time a few weeks ago. Now, since then, they have looked different, but there's always that coming back to what you've seen in past games in the big spots. So for Caleb, this is his biggest game in his career so far up to this point. And last week, that was the same case in Philadelphia. He won in Philadelphia against a tough defense. Now it's a division rival, but he's already got that confidence from that win. I think he can stack another one. I trust Caleb Williams more than Jordan Love in this spot.
Well, I trust Jordan Love in this one way more than Caleb Williams. I mean, Williams hasn't really had to do, a whole lot during this win streak. Like you said, not that high of a completion percentage. All he's really doing is just taking care of the ball and making sure that he doesn't turn it over. And I don't think that's going to be enough against this Packers team. They utilize their rush offense so much, like we talked about before in the Eagles game, and to do it back to back against the Packers and the Eagles, I mean that would be really incredible. Two of the best rush defenses in the NFL for sure. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it, meaning they're going to need Caleb to step up completely more than he has in this win streak, and I don't think it's going to be able to happen. Jordan Love he's been able to find his receivers. He seems like he's getting a lot more comfortable in the pocket and evading pass rushers. So I think Jordan Love's going to be able to lead this team to victory fairly easily against the Bears. Packers own the Bears. We all know this.
Not anymore, Luke. The Bears are a different team. You're going to realize that now. Do I think the Bears win this game? I'm not so sure. But 6.5 points. It's a cold December day in Lambeau. Both teams are going to want to run the ball. It's going to be limiting possessions. Third down. I like Caleb Williams with his legs. He's a great scrambler. He's great at making plays happen when he needs to. I think they're going to want to try to run it on first and second down, see what he can do on third down. I think the Packers are going to have a similar strategy of getting Josh Jacobs as many touches as possible. So I think this is a one-score game, and I like the Bears plus 6.5 here.
Give me the Packers -6.5. The Bears are due for a little beat down, and they've been relying on a lot of interceptions during this win streak as well. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get him against Love in this one.
Well, Luke, let's move on to the next game, and that is Chiefs Texans Sunday night. Oh, what do you want to know about this one, Luke?
I mean, this is everything. Everything for the Chiefs season. You can't have a losing record in December and make the playoffs. Everyone knows that. So the Chiefs are going to need to get this W at home versus the Texans. Like you said, the home games have been looking a lot better for the Chiefs than those road games, Brent. But the question here is, can the Chiefs be able to stop this Texans pass rush that has given problems to everybody? And the Chiefs might be a little banged up in trying to do that as well.
Might be a little banged up is an understatement. This is, in my opinion, the most dynamic duo of edge rushers in the NFL with Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. And the Chiefs are going to be out both their starting tackles. Juwan Taylor probably out at right tackle, and Josh Simmons definitely out at left tackle with his fractured wrist. So the starting lineup is going to look rough, but it's going to look kind of like the starting lineup last year in the playoff game when the Chiefs beat the Texans in Arrowhead. And that one, I didn't have too much worries that the Texans would be able to pull an upset in that game. So what it's going to take is a Mahomes Herculean effort. It's going to take a Mahomes playoff effort. And somehow that wasn't enough against the Cowboys. He played really well throughout much of that game. Still wasn't enough. So it's going to take that plus the defense to be able to come up with some stops. The Texans offense is not nearly as formidable as Dallas is. CJ Stroud just getting his way back in there. He had some nice flashes, but overall, you could tell still that Texans offense is not what people, especially Texans fans, wanted to be going into the year. So that's what it's going to take is Mahomes just making plays. They're obviously going to want to try to get the ball out of his hands quickly so he's not taking hits against those guys screaming off the edge. But when he does have to hold on to the ball, he can make things happen. We saw that play to Xavier Worthy against Dallas. Still wasn't enough to win the game. But that's the kind of stuff we're going to have to see. A play like that, maybe two plays like that during the course of the game, and then just being surgical, getting the ball out, and the defense actually coming up with stops. So it is an awful matchup, in my opinion. The worst team, really, Kansas City could face with both their tackles leaving last week against the Texans. Very concerning to me in a must-win game.
Absolutely. And if I just watched both of these teams, like I knew the players, but I didn't know the Chiefs versus the Texans, Chiefs season on the line. If it was just the players like week one and I knew what these teams were going into it, I would definitely pick the Texans because of that pass rush. It seems like it's going to be very hard for the Chiefs to have an answer against that. And with the defense, the way that they've been playing against the Cowboys. Now, they were able to stop Daniel Jones, and I think it's going to be a similar type of effort to be able to stop CJ Stroud and the Texans here. So maybe that does give you some hope, but I do think the Chiefs are going to be able to find a way to get this one done. I mean, you can't go against them whenever this much is on the line, not making the playoffs. And it feels like it's been that way for the last couple of weeks, but I feel like this one is really where the rubber meets the road. And if they don't get it done, it's over.
So you're taking Chiefs minus 3.5?
Yeah, I'd take that minus 3.5. But like I said, if it was a clean slate, I'd probably take the Texans.
I'll take the Texans plus 3.5, Luke. I'm hoping differently, but I just don't. I don't have the confidence. I don't have. There's nothing that's shown me that it's going to be any different. It is at Arrowhead. The Chiefs have played much better at home than on the road this season, which is also odd because that hasn't really been the case in Mahomes' career. They've had pretty much identical home and road splits, not this year. So maybe that is something, but it's just a very bad matchup for Kansas City. The extra rest maybe is good. The defense has to play inspired. They have to look completely different than they have over the last month outside of that fourth quarter and overtime against Indy.
Absolutely. And I think one of the good points you made there is I think the Chiefs do have the weapons where you can get the ball out quick. I mean, Rashee Rice is one of the best possession receivers in the league. Get him the ball quick. Worthy over the middle on a crosser. Don't let the pass rush get going, have Mahomes sitting back there forever. And I think Andy Reid's going to dial up a nice game plan to be able to counteract what the Texans are going to try to do.
Yeah, but she's going to have to be big. They've got great secondary players as well. But since Rice has come back from suspension, he's been right up there with JSN as the best receiver in the NFL in terms of yards and touchdowns. So keep cooking, Rashid. Please, Rashid, you're our only hope.
There you go. And then we're moving over to Monday Night Football. The Eagles are going to the Chargers. The Chargers are +3. And Brent, the Eagles are on a slide right now, two straight losses. If they can't win here, drop three in a row, is this 2023 all over again?
I honestly think it is. It's crazy, but the Eagles just do not look like anything that they resembled earlier in the year. Their offense is so broken right now. When AJ Brown has a good game, they have no chance of winning. Their run game is non-existent. Jalen Hurts, it seems like they don't trust him to do anything with the ball. And they're I mean, we've seen it before. In 2023, they started out 10 or 11 and 2, ended up barely squeaking into the playoffs, got rolled first game, and that could definitely happen again if they can't find it against the Chargers because now the Cowboys are breathing down their necks, and it could be a case of Philadelphia completely falling out of the playoffs if they're not careful.
Well, hopefully the Lions get the win and it makes it a little bit safer for the Eagles. But I mean, yeah, if the Cowboys win and the Eagles take this L, it's so close right there for the division. And absolutely, I mean, even a loss here, losing three straight for a team that just won the Super Bowl, and a lot of those same players went through that, crazy slump at the end of the season a couple years ago. If it starts going that way again, I mean, are they going to be calling for Sirianni's job again a year after losing the Super Bowl? Seems like that's something the Philly fans would be doing.
Yeah, it's been a cycle. Make the Super Bowl, fall off at the end of the year. Make the Super Bowl, they could fall off at the end of the year. Now, especially if Kansas City does win on Sunday night, I'll be rooting heavily for the Eagles. And I'm going to say they find a way to get it done. They have to look different. They just have to, I think. The Chargers are banged up as well. Herbert's got an injury that he's trying to deal with and play through. The offensive line is decimated. So I'll take Philadelphia -3 in this spot. But if they lose, it is absolutely 5 alarm bells panic time for the Eagles.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one, actually. I think the Eagles are going to drop it, even though the Chargers, like I said, their offensive line is not there right now, but their defense is legit, and the Eagles just can't seem to put up points against really anybody.
Well, Luke, let's move on to our week 14 picks. It is time to pick some locks and some upsets, as well as a prop pick. So we will go ahead. I'll start with my upset pick. We've already talked about this game. Um, Going to go with it. The Chicago Bears not only cover, but they do win in Lambeau. I like what the Bears are building, and I think that this is their time to make another statement victory. So give me the Bears +6.5 at Green Bay on Sunday afternoon.
Well, this is tough. We're already starting off 0 for 1, but I'm going to try to bring us back right here. I'm going with the Bengals +5.5 at Buffalo. Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. This is going to be a really good matchup, and I think that the Bills defense is not ready for this new and improved Bengals offense with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins likely coming back from the concussion. I think they're going to be ready to fire for a nice shootout up there and in Buffalo.
I love that pick, Luke. It's a crazy one, but wow, wouldn't that be something? The Bengals would definitely be in the mix if they're able to get this win. Now to our locks, Luke. This is a team that's gonna gonna be tough for your boys to catch, and that's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are a lock this week against the Saints. The Bucks looking healthier. Bucky Irving was really nice in that last game. The Cardinals play everybody tough, so wasn't surprised that that game came down to the end last week. The Saints are a different story. I think the Buccaneers can roll in that one.
Yeah, Bucks probably will get that one done. And my lock of the week is the Seahawks going to Atlanta. Seahawks are they've proven that they're ready to beat down any team that they play against that's obviously inferior. And I feel like there's no reason why they wouldn't do it again here in Atlanta against a team that This just doesn't have an identity right now.
Well, look, now it is time to go to our prop picks of the week. And for me, I'm going to MetLife Stadium, Dolphins and Jets. And the Dolphins are a sneaky team that's on a bit of a roll. And that is headlined by their running back, Devon Achane, who has been sensational. My pick is Achane. Take his over rushing yards. Doesn't matter what it is. He is going to be a star. I've got him clocked at 80 rushing yards. That is his over under. So I'll take Achane 80 yards. The Dolphins, they win this. They keep themselves in the playoff race, albeit at the very, very tail end, but still in it. And Achane is very impressive. So I like him 80 yards this week.
There you go. And I'm going with in that Eagles versus Chargers game on Monday Night Football. Give me the under 40 and a half. I feel like this is going to be one. We've seen it with the Eagles against the Packers and the Lions in prime time, where it's just an ugly game. And I have a good feeling it's going to be that same way right here. Like I said, Chargers offensive line beat up, defense. I mean, this is going to be one that's probably not going to be very fun to watch. So just take the under and go to sleep.
Well, that's not a bad pick, Luke. If it's not fun to watch, sit back, crack a cold one, and enjoy. That's what time it is now as we get to the thirstiest segment of the Hesse Bros pod. And it's time for a 12 pack, Luke. This is tough. There's no team that's really standing out as the number one team in the NFL. There's 12, though, all in the mix. So I'm sure you're going to leave out some good ones, and then you're going to have to put somebody at the top. Good luck to this 12 pack. Who do you got your NFL power rankings right now going into week 14?
Well, it's going to be a good 12 pack, and it is very clumped up. We've already talked about a lot of these teams, so let's just go through it right here. I got the Chiefs at number 12,
Okay.
barely hanging on to a 12 pack spot. But hey,
Better
I'll
than I
sneak them in
expected.
there for you. Yeah, I've got them in there. But just ahead of them, I'm going with the Bears. I feel like this, some people might think this is low, but I'm not putting too much weight on that Eagles win, and they're still dumb Bears. I mean, come on. Cowboys are coming in at number 10. They're getting hot right now, but we'll see if the Lions can cool them off. And then coming in at number 9, Buffalo Bills. It seems like they're hanging right around there, waiting to make a jump, but they're clearly not the top of the AFC, not the class of the AFC right now, like we've seen in years past, being up there with the Chiefs. At number 8 is going to be the Eagles. Can't lose to the Bears like that. I mean, come on, that's pretty obvious. You're dropping a lot. And at number 7, barely not making it to that second six pack. After your first six pack of 12 is where it really gets good, and the Lions just aren't there right now. The Lions are at number 7. How do you think about those six?
Luke, honestly, I'm surprised the Eagles are still as high as they are after back-to-back losses against the Cowboys and now the Bears. The Bears went into the Lincoln one and thoroughly outplayed them all throughout that game. So I think the Chicago Bears should be ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles. That would be my big gripe in the bottom 12, but the Chiefs are on the list. I don't know if I like it or not. So I'm just going to stay away from talking about it. But yeah, I would say Bears over Eagles. What do you got top six?
And in the top six, number 6, I'm going with the Texans, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Got to give them their nod for having such a great defense. And Stroud's back, looking like he might be getting back to his rookie form, which was, one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in a rookie year in a while. Number 5 is the Denver Broncos. Slightly inconsistent, but that's just a great defense too. Coming in at number 4, the Packers with their great defense. I mean, these are all teams you don't want to play because you don't know if you're going to be able to score on those squads. At number 3, got to go with the New England Patriots. Absolute beatdown of the Giants. And Drake May, he's sitting right there in MVP contention with my squad at number 2 with Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. I've got them one spot behind the Seattle Seahawks, who I think is the best team in the league right now. I mean, they're blowing teams out, and even in that game against the Rams, I think the Seahawks proved that they have what it takes to be able to take them down, and they're building those stepping stones. Whereas the Rams, it looks like they might be, very vulnerable to taking an L with their young defense. I'll take the Seahawks defense over them anytime.
Well, Luke, I will take another drink because that was a tasty 12 pack.
Oh, thanks, B Hess. Yeah,
I
hey, I
honestly,
think I got it
this
on
this
lock.
is one of the harder weeks to be able to shake it all out, and I think this is one of the best ones you've done. I don't know if I agree with the Seahawks at number one, but I don't really know who I would put ahead of them. So sure, we're going with it. It's a very valid point. Seattle played the Rams to a field goal, a chance to win it with a field goal at the end. And that happened with Sam Darnold throwing what, four interceptions. The
Mhm.
Seahawks, outside of quarterback, I think have the best roster in the NFL. The problem, though, is would it surprise anybody if in the playoffs Darnold throws four interceptions and that's how they end their season? It wouldn't surprise me.
Nope.
So, but I don't expect him to throw four. You know, I think maybe two is a fair number, but four is on the board every time he plays a big game. So I don't know if I can trust him to be the number one team in the NFL, but I don't know who I can trust, especially after the Rams got beat by Bryce Young, who you didn't have the Panthers on this list, Luke. Maybe you did that intentionally. But yeah, that's a tasty 12 pack.
I was definitely thinking about sneaking them on there instead of the Chiefs. I just feel like that would have been crazy disrespectful.
Oh,
I
and
got the
you know it would have
Panthers.
been it would have been a death sentence. The Panthers would lose this week if you did that.
Exactly. I can't have that happening.
Well, there we go. That is our 12 pack, and that is Hesse Bros Pod Week 14. Wow, Luke, either next week, hopefully we both still show up for the pod. Hopefully both of our teams still have a chance at the playoffs, but that is not a certainty by any means. So it's going to be an interesting week. Very different Hesse Bros season than last, but it's always a pleasure talking football with you, Luke, and I'm excited for the games this week.
Absolutely, Brent. Thanks everyone else for watching. It's been great, going through this season. If this is the last ever Hesse Bros pod, no, we'll be back next week. But yeah,
Oh
thanks
boy.
everyone for watching.
Yes, please like, subscribe, follow. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to have fun with it no matter what and enjoy another great week of NFL football.